feeling, a great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, top of the morning to you. Get the last minute cough out of there before the choir stops singing. Happy day to you. Jimmy is my name. Good morning on this glorious day the Lord has made. Rejoice, my friends. We are together. It is Friday, the second day of May. I did not change that on my show sheet. I got all the right information, but the wrong date. But Friday, the second day of May, year of our Lord 2025. Bravo. Glad to have you here on the program. And it's called Lakey Unleashed because for years, I did 4 hours every morning across many places in Colorado for a couple of decades and talk radio, news talk, usually morning drive. And now I've been unleashed from the confines of the corporate radio because the corporate radio people don't really care about local talk radio anymore, which is fine. We have moved on into brighter and greener pastures and kicking ass and taking names is what we like to say we're doing, kicking ass and taking names. By the way, remind me, I got to write this down, that Steve Ducey has changed his role at Fox News. And I noticed something yesterday when he announced that. And I forgot to mention, I just wrote a note to myself to talk about it today. He's no longer going to be on what they call the Kirby couch on Fox and Friends every morning, as he has been there for 20 or so years. And he's going to take a new role at Fox and Friends. And I was watching this transition and going, wow. And then I started thinking of the transitions I've seen in television happen versus the transitions in radio. And radios are real dysfunctional lot. They really are. Anyway, I'll talk about that. I was just kind of some observational behind the scenes observations if I could share those with you. All right, what do we have on the story? Jobs numbers are out today, better than everyone expected. We'll see if the news media now reports that because this is the first snapshot of a really kind of an operational month during the Trump administration. Are people hiring? Are they cautious? They have a fear and trepidation because of the tariffs and the chaos that Donald J. Trump supposedly brings. Oh, everybody's going to be afraid to make moves because they don't know about the tariffs. Well, 144,000 new jobs or something like that. There's a lot of jobs out there. And it's pretty good. It's not bad. And I'm sure the market will like it. I'm not sure the media will report it because, again, what has been the narrative? Because of the way Donald Trump is handling the economy and these tariffs, business owners are not going to want to hire new people. They're not sure what their future looks like. They're just not going to be able to do anything because of Donald Trump. And suddenly the job numbers come out and you go, oh, my goodness, they're much better than what people had anticipated because of Donald Trump. So, again, the media out there, they're really not the media. There is no true journalism out there. In a lot of the mainstream spaces, you have to come to programs like this and get some fair, balanced perspective. And that's what we give to you here. And by the way, if you would like to give your perspective during the program today, don't forget you can join us in our chat room. You say, how do I get there? You're already in it. If you're watching this on a platform out there, every platform out there from Rumble to YouTube to Facebook to the X feed, all of you have the ability to make a comment or a tweet or just a snide remark that you might want to make. And when you do that, they show up in our studio. And as we get to see those in the studio, we put those up on the screen. For instance, somebody just said good morning from Fort Collins. Somebody just said good morning from Stormy, Arkansas. Wherever you're at, we always love to hear your good mornings. And if you have a new job, the jobs numbers are in and more people employed now than what they anticipated because they have been trying to talk down the economy in the media because they say Donald Trump's not going to let the economy ever get better because he brings about so much uncertainty. So watch the reporting on the jobs numbers today. Those are out there. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, this, anybody remember the story of Kamala Harris, her last minute effort in the election last year to try to salvage her pathetic campaign and her pathetic image. And so she had all these people in the media that were very complicit in trying to get her across the finish line. And one of those was an interview on the arbiter of great news, journalism, fake news, 60 Minutes. And she did an interview with 60 Minutes, and she did the interview. And it turns out that her answer that she gave, while still not real clear, was not the answer she gave. They creatively edited the interview answer. And so the Trump administration is suing CBS, I think Viacom, CBS, and say for election interference. That the Federal Election Commission is looking into CBS for election interference. CBS, NBC, all of that last minute before that, because of Saturday Night Live and some other stupid stuff that happened on the other networks, they had to give free airtime to Donald Trump because they were obviously interfering on an editorial basis on shows they're not supposed to editorialize on, basically creating a free platform for Kamala Harris to get her lying sack of crap out there to lie to the American people. Well, there's a lawsuit going on, and 60 Minutes may settle it. And so while the lawsuit's going on for Donald Trump and suing 60 Minutes for election interference and millions of dollars at stake, and CBS Viacom may settle this thing knowing that they're guilty as sin and that they're just a bunch of hacks that pretend to be journalists. They're just a bunch of partisan people that could work in the propaganda department of any oligarch, as Bernie Lexus says. That's what they do. They propagandize. Well, funny enough that while this is now a known deceitful interview, there's such incestuous behavior behind the scenes that the Emmys, anybody watch the Emmys? The Emmys have nominated that CBS interview at the center of the Trump lawsuit. They've given it an Emmy nomination. Such a brilliant interview. This controversial 60 Minutes interview at the center of President Trump's high-stakes lawsuit against CBS is now an Emmy-nominated program. The nomination of 46th News and Documentary for the 46th News and Documentaries Emmy Films Award were given to 60 Minutes. They got several nods, most notably in this the Outstanding Edited category, in which they actually, in Outstanding Editing, which CBS says they never edited it, but now the Emmys have nominated them for Outstanding Editing. It's the irony and stupidity. This is all amazing. Among the other nominees in the category for Outstanding Editing include a CBS interview with Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and the late Pope Francis, as well as NBC's interview with Celine Dion and ABC's interview with Brittany Griner. But they've added the 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. You could say maybe they're taking a jab at him since they said it wasn't edited, but I think they really say this is fantastic editing. You did a great job stumping for old Kamala out there and standing up for the loyal party that we are all a part of, and it doesn't matter who the candidate is, whether it's Poopy Pants Joe or retarded Kamala. Either way, it's all right. We love it that you edited and you did your best to edit Kamala right into the White House. Here's the story as it appeared last night on the Jesse Waters show, just to give you a snippet of the piece that actually was edited and now has been nominated. I'll play this for you. This is from the Jesse Waters show, so Jesse will jump in on this as well. Play it.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. The Wall Street Journal said that that your administration has repeatedly been blindsided by Netanyahu. And in fact, he has rebuffed just about all of your administration's entreaties.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. And we're not going to stop doing that. We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Let me stop it there because I want to get to other things in the program. We'll come back to that. The first audio you heard of the 60 Minutes host and Kamala Harris, that was the edited version, and that rambling word salad you just heard is the part that has now been nominated. It's the non-edited, and that's what CBS did not want you to hear because they had all their money on the horse, speaking Kentucky Derby weekend, on the horse Kamala to get around the track, and she obviously didn't. But now that interview has been nominated by the Emmy Awards for the best editing job. Now, at first I'm like, okay, they got nominated for an Emmy. That this is obviously showing that there's bias here. And then I'm like, oh, maybe it's a joke because CBS said they didn't do any noteful editing of it. It's all good. And now, so maybe they're taking a jab at that. And then I'm like, no, they're probably going, that's a great job. We're so proud of you. You gave her the old college try. You got busted, but that's a real good edit job because God knows she sounded like a homeless woman on meth, dribbling in the street, half naked, running around collecting money. And that's what to really prove what we want to do. Prove what we want to do. Prove it. That's what she sounded like. And they edited it down to where she sounded like something coherent. So anyway, God bless the Emmys. If I'm sure you'll be watching the Emmys with bated breath, as all of us do. I didn't even know the Emmys were still a thing. I don't know how you get nominated. I don't even know when it airs. But Kamala and 60 Minutes have been nominated for the best editing job in the Emmys. All right, good to have you here on the program. I want to give you a quick reminder that coming up on May the 17th is our annual casino gala right here in Colorado. No matter where you're listening to us, we'd love to have you come in. That's the Rivers Promise Casino Gala. You see the Rivers Promise logo all over our set here. And you hear me talk about the charity that I started helping out kids in Africa. And we appreciate your help by helping us raise money at this casino gala. It's May the 17th at the Omni Resort and Hotel Omni Interlaken, just out between Denver and Boulder. It's a glorious property. It's going to be a fun time. Frank Sinatra, we have resurrected him from the dead. He will be there in the part of a great entertainer by the name of Derek Abelsizer. You've never seen anybody do Sinatra like Derek. It's going to be a fantastic night. Ooh, sorry, I have a cough button, but I don't have a cough camera, so it doesn't work. This head cold gets me every time. Derek Abelsizer will be there. Derek will be there. There's food included, casino games. There's a poker element of it, the whole thing. It's all for fun. And so if you've ever wanted to go to Vegas and play craps, but you're like, I don't want to lose any money. Well, you're not going to lose any money this night. You're going to get dummy chips, and they're going to, all of the people at all the casino games are all instructors. And so they can help you learn the nuance of the game. So the next time you do go to Vegas to do a little gambling, you'll actually have some education on how to do it because you practice at our casino game. It's going to be a fun night. Somebody says when you register, it tells you what to dress. It says wear your Vegas best or casual. It doesn't matter. People had a photographer call up, going to be there, said, should I wear, how formal should I be? I said, whatever you'd wear to a casino night in Vegas, just have fun. Some people are very casual and make that look sharp. Dress sharp. There is a best dress contest, by the way. There is a best dress contest, and we have judges that peruse the night, and they look wonderfully upon people's outfits, and they judge them harshly. And it's not necessarily... Yeah, like one year, a guy in a red suit won because how are you going to beat a guy in a red suit? So it's a fun night, and yeah, you can wear your jeans. It's fine as well. But I'm just telling you, there's a lot of different elements to this thing. It's May the 17th, coming up in a couple of weeks. It's a Saturday night, and when you do register, you're going to get a little link there. And as long as you're still available, there's a block of rooms. If you want to make a little staycation out of it, you can do that as well. All right, the Casino Gala. Go to riverspromise.org to register. riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org, and I would love to see you there on May the 17th. Thank you, and you are welcome. I want to welcome into the program historian Richard C. Lyons. We've had him on the program many times in the past, and it's always a pleasure to have him. And he joins us now. I got to hit the right button, and while I try not to cough, Richard Lyons, welcome back to the show, sir. How are you?
No, great to see you, Jimmy.
Great to have you back. For those who don't know you, let me give the bio and the books that they want to order. Passages Through the Shadows, Volume 3, and the Democracy series is out there. We can talk about that here in just a moment and kind of jump in. Well, matter of fact, let's talk about those first because it sets the stage of the perspective. We're going to talk about a Supreme Court case that's coming up real soon, or a hearing that's going to happen. But you've written this, the Democracy series. The latest is Passages Through the Shadows. Help everybody understand the Democracy series, sir.
Well, I started out with the DNA of democracy, and that is, Jimmy, all the elements that went into the construction of our Constitution and how we were formed in a way that was unique in history, and how the Civil War was necessary in order to fulfill the promise of all men being created equal and endowed by God with their rights, equal rights. And I carry that up to 1920, and that's when women got the suffrage vote. And we were, at that time, in my mind, the most representative government in history. Then came Woodrow Wilson, and what happened in the past 100 years, I chronicle in Shadows of the Acropolis. That's volume 2, and that chronicles the growth of socialism in the Democratic Party and through that party in America for the last 100 years. When I got to volume 3, Passages Through the Shadows, that is a current events chronicle of the fight between socialism and our original principles as borne out in the past 18 months.
All right, so now we're going to get to the chronicles of some current events, and that's what the last 18 months. One of the things we've watched happen really since January, we saw the first term a little bit, but now it's been on steroids, is you have the power of the executive branch. We have 3 separate but co-equal branches of government, and the power of the executive branch, there's a lot of leeway to what a president can do, even through executive orders, even though they may be temporary and they're not codified in law and somebody else can wipe them away. There's a lot of leeway here. Now we have the judges, people filing friendly judges and going to courts, and they're saying you don't have the executive power to do that. The court, the separate co-equal branch of government, is deciding what the executive branch of government has the authority to do. You could argue that the executive branch says you don't have the authority to even rule on this. So you have the standoff between these 2 branches of government, and now the Supreme Court has come in and said, okay, we're going to hear one of these, and one of the cases they're going to hear is whether President Trump had the right to say that birthright citizenship is legitimate. He says we're misinterpreting what this all means about birthright citizenship. Give me your thoughts, sir.
Okay, well, birthright citizenship, again, it goes back to the Civil War. Jimmy, it was the one common element that all former slaves had right after the Civil War. Because the slave trade was ended per our original Constitution in 1808, every former slave in America had one thing in common. They were born in this country, in the territorial United States. That being so, with the 14th Amendment, it could be said that all of this population born in the United States now has full constitutional rights. The second part of the sentence says, having been born in the United States, you have to be subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So there's birthright citizenship, plus you have to be under the jurisdiction of the United States. It can be argued, Jimmy, that this massive population that just invaded the country over the past 5 years, right? That population has never been under the jurisdiction of the United States. Had they been so and living under the laws of the United States, they wouldn't be here anymore. And when you get to transnational gangs working within sanctuary cities protected by Democrats, the Democrats are actually protecting these gangs from the rightful jurisdiction of the federal government. So that, I think, is the challenge before the Supreme Court. Which part of that 14th Amendment are we viewing? The birthright part or subject to the jurisdiction thereof?
Now, so far, I don't think there's been any court that has ruled in President Trump's favor, because probably where they judge shops. But it still tells me that the Supreme Court sees something in this that they should take a hearing on. They don't have to take a hearing, but they've agreed to hear arguments here. Do we have conflicting opinions at the lower court, or why is the Supreme Court jumping in here?
I think the Supreme Court wants to create some clarity on the issue. We need clarity on the issue, Jimmy, because we've never been invaded like this before. We've never had tens of millions of people come into this country over a 4-year period. And so there's going to be clashes as to what rights do they have? Do they have due process rights? They didn't follow a legal process to come into this country. Why should we create a legal process to defend them from getting out of this country and going home? What about their right to have benefits in this country? What about their right to health care? What about their right to being in our schools? These are all issues, and I'm very glad the Supreme Court is taking this up. And I think, we can be humane and we can get this job done. I would love to see a country, that wants to give birth to our democratic principles. What if that were to happen in Venezuela? Venezuelans wouldn't be coming here. They would be happy to be born in Venezuela if they had our system. right? So the Democrats now are, and you see it with district judges now, they're trying to act as though they're president, right? But I'm very happy that the issue is being brought before the Supreme Court now. I wish that these other issues as to deportations were being brought to the Supreme Court and that they made a clear ruling as to what President Trump can do as commander-in-chief, as the chief law enforcement officer of the country.
If you're listening to the program just audio only, later in the program as it becomes a podcast, and you're not watching the live stream this morning, you're listening to the voice of Richard C. Lyons. We'll talk more about his book series, the Democracy series, in just a moment. But Richard, you, with your historical perspective, when you go back to the founding of the country, and then you go to where we're at now, the challenging times we live, I want to get your perspective on this situation that we have with the judicial branch, really, I think, overstepping their boundaries, their lanes, and it seems to be all based on the President Trump is the president. You didn't see these injunctions happen as much against Obama or Biden or George W. Bush, but they love to put injunctions against President Trump. Do we have a judiciary that has been invaded by Trump derangement syndrome? And did our founders in the Constitution put any type of I guess it's a poison pill to stop this, or some kind of an inoculation against this? How do we stop this?
Well, look at everything else they did, Jimmy, from the false investigations, the false Russia hoax, the impeachment processes twice, all the lawfare, everything they've done to stop Trump. We had a legitimate election last November 5th, and we stopped the tide of socialism taking over the country. And what is their last refuge now? Their last refuge is in the 94 district courts, where there are 600 and some active judges, some of whom are Democrats. So now the Democrats are shopping where they can bring a case, and they are saying within a district court that the case brought before a district court, say it's in Washington, D.C., what the judge determines, a district judge, of which there are 600 in the country and some, that the district judge can create law, in fact, in his own court that stops the commander-in-chief and the chief law enforcement officer from doing his duty. It's the last refuge they have. And so I think some of these cases have to go to the Supreme Court, and this has to be clarified, that you cannot stop the will of the people as pronounced in an election, a national election. You can't stop it by being a district judge in Washington, D.C.
I found it interesting that there's a law in the book, been in the books for a long time, called the Alien Invader Act, or something that President Trump has invoked. It's been there for a long time. And it says if there's a foreign force here, you can evacuate the terrorists and the bad guys out of the country pretty quickly. President Trump says, well, we've been invaded, and we're going to use that. And some judge comes up, one local district judge says, well, the law's there. We like that law's there, but it's not, you're doing it wrong. And you're thinking, it's just unbelievable that
he's redefining it. He's saying they have to have some sort of massed army. They have to have a geographical target. Well, they do have a geographical target. It's the United States. And the State Department has proved, Jimmy, that there is connection between the Venezuelan gangs and the Venezuelan government.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're trying to disrupt America. They're trying to rob us blind, send the money back to Venezuela, operate drug rings, sex trafficking rings, and the Democrats are defending it. They're finding district judges to defend these people.
It's sad. I hope the Supreme Court will jump in, but then again, with some of the appointments on the Supreme Court, I'm just hoping, because if the Supreme Court can't get past their orange fear or their Trump derangement syndrome, our country's in for a long ride. If not, hopefully the Supreme Court will rule on the right way.
Right. Yes, and I wish, the longer the Supreme Court is in Washington, D.C., the more it becomes like Washington, D.C. It ought to be. That one of our founders said, I can't remember the name, that if the Capitol were rightly managed, it should be moved every year around the country, so it is truly representative, not in one place. Yeah, because you get groupthink. Everybody starts thinking the same.
Yeah, they all go to the same parties and country clubs and their soccer games, and their kids and grandkids are all in the same little schools.
Marry each other, and
becomes very incestuous up there.
Yeah, it
Richard
does.
Lyons, if somebody wants to get a copy of any of the books in the Democracy series, one more time, do the plug on the Democracy series, starting with DNA of Democracy onto the most recent one.
Yeah, there's 3 volumes. How and Why America Got Made, DNA of Democracy. How and Why America Changed Over the Past 100 Years Through the Democratic Party. That's Shadows of the Acropolis. And then What's the Battle Going On Now, Every Day. That's Passages Through the Shadows. They're all available at Amazon.com or at a shop at RichardCLyons.com.
RichardCLyons.com. Richard, it's always a pleasure. Have a great weekend, sir. We'll talk to you again very soon, I am sure. RichardCLyons.com. You can find all the books there at the Democracy series, and you will appreciate it if you'd like to get the perspective of how our great nation has come about and where our great nation is at in the I guess in the scope of history, and are we on the right track? All of this, my friends, in the book, the Democracy series, all the books by Richard C. Lyons. All right, we're going to continue the conversation here in just a moment. I am Jimmy Lakey. I'm going to come back and read some of the comments of the day that happened on the Facebook, the Twitter, all the feeds in our chat room. Also, Thomas DiLorenzo is going to be with us from the Mises Institute. Everybody stand by. We're going to take a quick little break on this glorious day the Lord has made. I am Jimmy Lakey. Stand by. There is more to come with Tom DiLorenzo.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is on call 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. We pride ourselves in our on-time guarantees. In addition to installation and repairs, we offer maintenance services. So no matter when you need us, you can always count on 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your system running. Check out our family of brands for all of your service needs, including electrical and plumbing.
Our heating and air conditioning.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
All right, here I am. I'm here. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you got paid this week. Some of you get paid today, the first Friday of the month, perhaps. If this week was payday, or this is the Friday you get paid on. Let me remind you a couple of things. Number one, get registered for our casino gala. It's coming up May the 17th, just a couple of weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks from tomorrow. It's going to be a fantastic time. It's all raising money for the charity that you see over my arm. It's Rivers Promise, the charity that I started many years ago in Africa as a promise to my son, and still keeping that promise going and building Legacy Christian Academy and all the work that we do there. And if you're not going to be able to attend May the 17th, it's a fun night, our casino gala at the Omni Interlaken Hotel and Resort in Broomfield, Colorado, just between Denver and Boulder. Beautiful facility there. It's going to be a great night. Sinatra's going to be there in form of Derek Evil Sizer. Music, food, cash bar available. It's going to be a splendid night of poker and just all for fun casino. And you're not going to lose any money because there's no real money on the table. It's all chips and fakeness. And it's all for fun and instruction purposes. But it's our casino gala. Would love to have you there May 17th. And by the way, we'd also love to, I mentioned the payday. If you're not attending, you still like to contribute and you got paid recently, hey, make a little contribution, would you? Donate to Rivers Promise. Again, $30 helps us feed a kid 2 meals a day for a month. So $1 a day. $65 allows us to feed the kid, also get the kid in school, get the kid health insurance. Every month we pay those fees, and we can use your help to do it. Yeah, that's just to give you a perspective of how far your dollar can go. So love to have you help. RiversPromise.org, RiversPromise.org, and Casino Gala coming up. All right, I want to welcome into the program, if I may, Thomas DiLorenzo. You've heard him before here on the program. He's been a guest many times. He is the president of the Mises Institute. He's the big dog there. And if you don't know the Mises Institute, you're about to know the Mises Institute. Please welcome Mr. DiLorenzo back to the show. Tom, welcome back to the show, sir.
I'm pleased to be with you. Thanks for having me again.
Well, there's some jobs numbers that have come out. Some people say they are defying expectations, that people were not expecting the jobs numbers to be this good this month from the month, or for last month, for the month of April. Give me your analysis of our jobs numbers.
Well, a lot of the jobs numbers, not just this month, but all the time, are you have to take with a grain of salt, because they include government jobs and the results from government spending. And of course, the real job generators in the country is the private sector. And so that's good news. You know, we have more private sector jobs, so that's all good. I think just the fact that the election is over creates a lot more certainty for businesses. Businesses always want to know, just tell me what the taxes are going to be, just tell me what the regulations are going to be, and I'll get to work and do my thing around that.
Oh, I think Mr. DiLorenzo has frozen up here. Let me see if he can fix this. I mean, Mr. DiLorenzo has all frozen up, right? Anybody see Mr. DiLorenzo? All right, let me see if I can scroll down and Tom, you have frozen up there. He's the president of the Mises Institute. Tom has frozen up. We'll try to get him back to the stage here in just a minute and see. It sounds like his internet feed has gone poop, and something happened mid-sentence there. Let me see if if we have any movement by DiLorenzo. He's gone dark there. Hopefully he's going to reconnect with us here in just a second. We'll wait for the arrival of Mr. Tom DiLorenzo. Hey, I also use this as an opportunity. We'll go through the jobs numbers here in just a second. But Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, somebody I'd love to have you get to know and talking about your real estate future. Maybe you have been thinking about the uncertainty of the real estate market. Maybe you've been thinking about the difficulty of knowing the interest rates, or knowing whether Trinidad Aragua is going to continue to live in certain towns. Maybe you've just kind of been thinking about the uncertainty of your equity in your home, and is it a good time to move? You've got a lot of questions. So listen, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree would love to have that conversation with you. And again, her goal is not to just sell your home or help you buy a home. It's to really be a part of your real estate history, your real estate transactions. She wants to qualify herself to be your realtor for life. And it's amazing how many people have done that. Just she'll hear from him 4, 5, 6, 7 years later. Hey, Sherry, we're going to move. We're calling you again. And people just know that Sherry's the one to walk through that real estate journey as they try to use real estate to build generational wealth. If you're in the I-25 corridor of Colorado, you know who you are. You're up in Fort Collins. You're down in Denver. You're in Boulder. You're in Broomfield. You're in Trinidad Aurora. If you're Parker area, if you're in any of those areas, anywhere between Castle Rock as well, homeswithsherry.com, give her a call, have a conversation, a consultation, and she can give you some great advice and just insight. And then you can make the right decision and find out if you want Sherry to walk that journey with you. I would encourage you to use Sherry, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. All right, we had a little technical glitch. I thought for a moment it was my problem, but it was not. It was my problem. I think it was Tom DiLorenzo's internet froze up. He's back, president of the Mises Institute. Tom, welcome back in, sir.
Thank you again.
Glad to have you. Computer errors happen. That's the joy of live broadcasting. So let's dive right back in here. You were talking about these jobs numbers. The employers just want to know, show me the taxes. There's going to be uncertainty, and the election's over, and you're thinking maybe this was kind of a reflex of, okay, the election's over, we got Trump, okay, now I'll hire. Is that kind of maybe what happened here?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of all that uncertainty has disappeared, and of course the alternative was a crazy socialist running for president, a capitalist hating socialist versus Donald Trump. All the difference in the world, and I think just the fact that the President Trump won is good for the economy, and of course budget cutting, Doge, and what Elon Musk has been doing is a good thing. And the president's talking about tax cuts and deregulation also. That's all good. It's all good for the economy. And it'll spur investment, and it's private investment and capital formation that ultimately creates jobs. Even foreigners are investing more in America now because they think our country is stronger than theirs. If they thought their country was stronger economically than ours, they'd be investing in their country.
If you're listening to the podcast version of the program, not the live stream, you're only hearing the voice. The voice is that of Thomas J. DiLorenzo, president of the Mises Institute. In just a minute, we'll talk about a documentary that he wants you to watch, and I think would be good for you to watch as well, called Playing with Fire, Money, Banking, and the Federal Reserve. Again, we'll get to that in just a second. Thomas, you and I have talked about tariffs before. You're no fan of tariffs. A lot of my colleagues and conservatives don't like Donald Trump swinging the tariff dagger around so loosely and say, hey, careful there, President. They don't like it. But the media said with all this tariff talk that businesses were not going to be certain. They weren't going to hire. It was too uncertain. Donald Trump was creating too much chaos. And some of the media said with the market crashing and the tariffs, we are headed straight towards a recession, by God, under Donald Trump. Do these jobs numbers prove all that differently?
Well, people who say these things are sort of implicitly assuming that the only thing that matters is the change in tariffs. There are a lot of other things that drive the economy other than tariffs on imports, because after all, foreign trade is a relatively small part of the whole economy in America. We've got a very big economy. Foreign trade is important, but it's not the only thing. And there hasn't yet been a huge increase in tariffs. The president has proposed, he's negotiating, but that's all up in the air, and it's a bad thing. I hope they settle this one way or the other soon, and so yeah, they're exaggerating. And of course, if President Trump was a 100% free trader, the Democrats would be pro-tariff. Whatever he's for, they're against, no matter what, come hell or high water, and that's just the way it is. And although one thing that's about the president and his tariff policy, it's based on trying to even out the balance of trade with other countries. But that's really a myth, because, for example, in 2024, we had totally free trade between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And that's because of the agreement that President Trump reached when he was president the first time. And yet we had a $235 billion trade deficit with those two countries. And so the main reason for the trade deficits is our production costs are higher than Mexico and Canada, for that matter. Same with South Korea. There's zero tariffs on American imports into South Korea, but we had a $50 billion trade deficit in 2023 with South Korea. It can't possibly be tariffs, unfair tariffs, that are causing those trade deficits. It's that our production costs with Mexico, for example, I think are 6 or 7 times higher than in Mexico in certain manufacturing businesses, and so I think that needs to be more attention needs to be paid to that, rather than this idea that President Trump's predecessors were not as good negotiators as he is. That seems to be his thinking about this. He's a darn good negotiator, but that's a false economic theory.
Let me ask you a question. President Trump makes the argument with these tariffs that manufacturing can return to America. And then you hear people say, it's too expensive to manufacture here. But then you hear that somebody's moving part of their production back here. So which is it? Is manufacturing something that can return to America? Jobs have been, blue-collar jobs, especially industrial jobs, have been offshored for the last many decades. Is manufacturing possible to return to America like Trump envisions it?
Well, sure it is, but who knows what kind of side deals were made, tax cuts, subsidies to get these companies that have moved back that the president is bragging about. I wasn't in the room when they negotiated any kind of a deal with the government. But for example, Paul Craig Roberts, the columnist who was an advisor to President Reagan, back in the day, he said, if you're really serious about getting American corporations to move their factories back, make a deal like this. If you come back, your corporate income tax is 10%. If you stay there, it's 50%. That would do it. But increasing the average tariff rate from 2.5% to 5%, right now the president is proposing basically a 10-fold increase in tariffs. That's not going to happen. That's his first bargaining chip. And so that's really not going to do it, I don't think. We need to radically reduce production costs. Regulation is poison to businesses. And as you see from Elon Musk and the things he's uncovered about regulation and regulators, and RFK Jr. as well with the FDA regulation, it's a horrible burden on American business. And if we could just increase productivity by 10% in that regard, that would be huge. You know, the invention of the personal computer only didn't increase productivity by that much. And so that could be a big way of getting more businesses to manufacture in the U.S. I don't think it's impossible at all.
The voice of Thomas J. DiLorenzo, president of the Mises Institute. We'll tell you more about them in just a moment. And also a documentary called Playing with Fire, Money, Banking, and the Federal Reserve. Thomas, one more question. We just hit the 100th day of President Trump's term of office. Everybody's doing polling and surveying. And, of course, back in November when he was elected, the border and the economy seem to be the two most important things. And so everybody comes back 100 days after the term begins and says, Donald Trump, how do you think he did on the border? Great polling numbers there, not so good on the economy. Are we being too judgmental that 100 days the economy is going to turn around?
You know, of course, no president can do anything significantly to the economy in 100 days. For goodness' sake, a monetary policy and fiscal policy. Economists always talk about time lags of changes in policy like that are 9 months, 12 months, 18 months before a change in policy, and then when you see the results. So it really is kind of ridiculous to think that the president's going to have a big impact. But, crime control is an important thing. He's certainly headed in the right direction there. And the liberals forever have been saying that poverty causes crime, but they've always had it backwards. Crime creates poverty. I used to live in Baltimore, and I know how crime creates poverty. No, the Inner Harbor area of Baltimore, which used to be a beautiful tourist destination around the harbor with all the shops and restaurants, there's one restaurant left, Hooters, in the Inner Harbor. The whole place is out of business because of crime. So you take care of the crime, you're going to make a big impact on business and prosperity, and that's what the Department of Justice is focusing on, and the immigration authorities. And hopefully we'll make some important progress in that area.
Is the Trump booming economy? Everybody, Trump even campaigned and said, "Remember my first term before COVID, things were rocking and rolling." Is it possible for us to get back there? And what's the timeline for that? Obviously, the tax cuts are going to be hopefully made permanent in Congress. But give me your estimation and prognostication as to whether the booming economy that Trump promised and maybe we had before can return.
Well, sure it is. But when every $1 billion the government spends has to come out of our pockets one way or another, and Congress just passed like the biggest military spending bill in the history of the planet, and that's all of those resources has to come out of the private sector of the economy one way or another, regardless of what we're spending all this money on for the military. And that's disappointing from an economic perspective. That'll slow things down in terms of job creation and economic growth, because it's the bloating of government. And on the tariff issue, by the way, a headline a couple of days ago was that the government has taken in an extra $15 billion in tariff revenue alone. That's the opposite of what President Trump ran on. That $15 billion is going to be spent by the bureaucracy that Elon Musk has been trying to reduce. Well, we're feeding them now. That money goes into the U.S. Treasury, and then the Congress will vote on which bureaucracy gets to spend all that money. Yeah. And so that's just a flat contradiction. And it's disappointing for me to hear President Trump bragging that we're taking in. I heard him make one speech. He said it was $2 billion a day in tariff revenue we're taking in, as though that's a good thing. It's never a good thing to take money out of the pockets of Americans and let it be spent by government bureaucrats. But that's what's happening with tariffs and going up. And they're taxes. Tariffs are taxes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm saying tariffs are taxes, and they should be called tariff taxes, because the average American, maybe not the average American, but a lot of Americans seem to think that we can make foreigners pay our taxes with tariffs. If that was true, every government in the world would be doing it. Yeah. And it's not true.
They have been putting some pretty good tariffs on us, and for many countries. Is some work of this tariff deal you mentioned some of the ones that weren't really taking advantage of us, but there are some countries that do take advantage of us and do slap bigger tariffs on us than we slap on them. What about the term reciprocal tariffs? Whatever you charge us, we'll charge you. Is that a fair play?
Well, look at it from the perspective of the American taxpayer. If some other government says we're going to rip off our people with high tariff taxes and make them pay more for food, clothing, and shelter, and then we respond by saying, "Okay, we'll double down on that. We'll harm our citizens even more than you harm your citizens by raising the cost of food, clothing, and shelter on our people with tariffs even more." It's really shooting yourself in the foot economically. That's what happened in 1930 with the famous Smoot-Hawley tariff. We had a dramatic increase in tariffs, and there was a big tariff war. Countries retaliated, and the end result was a shrinkage by 2/3 of world trade in 3 years, and that was bad for the entire world. I'm not saying this is going to happen here, but that's a dangerous game to play. The best scenario is if President Trump does succeed in negotiating down the tariff rates. Okay, if country A, you have 50% tariffs on us, we want to negotiate that down. That's his game to say, well, okay, we'll put 50% tariffs on you, but in the meantime, you and I suffer from that. And a lot of these tariffs are on capital goods that are imported into our country and are used by our manufacturers to produce other goods. Final goods is in the lingo of economics. And so if you put tariffs on aluminum and steel, for example, as the president has proposed, it's going to be more costly to make cars in America. And our car companies will have a tougher time competing. And so it's a very complicated issue, and it's not as simple as President Trump being a great negotiator.
The voice of Thomas J. DiLorenzo, president of the Mises Institute. It's a nonprofit organization that exists to promote the teaching and the research of Austrian School of Economics, individual freedom, honest history, and international peace, the Mises, M-I-S-E-S Institute. Thomas, before we go, I want you to talk about this documentary. It's called Playing with Fire, Money, Banking, and the Federal Reserve. It's quite an interesting documentary. I think people need to know about it.
It's 38 minutes long. We hired a professional production company. It features Ron Paul, myself, Jim Grant, a well-known Wall Street bond trader, and a number of other of our academics here at the Mises Institute. And it's an attempt to explain in plain English to a lay audience what the Fed is, what it's about, why it insists on creating at least 2% price inflation every year. That's the Fed's policy, which means it insists on giving all of us at least a 2% pay cut every year, and why it is that the Fed is the source of the boom and bust cycle in the economy. It was the cause of the great crash of 2008 and many more. And we call it Playing with Fire because we compare the Fed to an arsonist who starts a house fire. And then once the house fire is going, he changes clothes into a firefighter's uniform and pretends to put the fire out by throwing more gasoline on it. And that's basically what the Fed does. They print up too much money, creates a boom in the economy in a bubble that bursts. And then after the bubble bursts, they do the exact same thing. They print more money to create the next bubble a few years down the road.
How can people watch the documentary called Playing with Fire from the Mises Institute, M-I-S-E-S? How do people watch it?
It's on YouTube, or you can go to Mises.org/fire and see it. It came out in October, and we already have almost 1 million views on YouTube now. So It's been very popular.
And so go to YouTube, look up Mises Institute, Playing with Fire is the name of the documentary. And Thomas, I appreciate your time. I always enjoyed the conversation with you, sir. Thanks for hopping into the House of Lakey for the Lakey Unleashed Streamcast. And again, the name of the documentary by the Mises Institute is Playing with Fire, Mises.org, M-I-S-E-S, M-I-S-E-S, Playing with Fire, Money, Banking, and the Federal Reserve. And I'm going to go watch it myself. I have not watched it. I think I at one time had it on my to-do list back in October or November. And that's about the time I got shown the door of the radio program. And for some reason, I just spaced it. I had a lot of things going on at that time in my life, a couple of trips to Africa as well. So I need to go watch this thing, Playing with Fire, Money, Banking, and the Federal Reserve. Go watch it, Mises.org or YouTube as well. I wrote a note here early in the show, and I want to come back to it. Just kind of I mentioned being shown the door in radio. This is how we have the Lakey Unleashed streamcast and now podcast as well. Thanks to everybody who makes it successful and it tunes in. We appreciate it. I was watching this. I just had this weird observation yesterday. Is I was up early in the background and sitting here at the broadcast desk, and I had the Fox and Friends over here and the business news over here. And I just kind of had television and an iPad going, and I was just watching things. And they had a big announcement from Steve Doocy, who's one of the co-hosts of Fox and Friends. And Steve announced that after 20 or so years of waking up at 3:30 in the morning, and his wife called it making the donuts, Steve was going to not wake up all the time and make the donuts so early. He's going to base himself out of Florida, no longer be daily on the set of Fox and Friends, only 3 days a week. He's going to be kind of the coast-to-coast host, and he's going to be at various and sundry places doing reports and things. He's going to be out on the streets and less stress and not going to have to be driving into New York City every day for his job. He's going to base himself out of Florida. So kind of entering towards the retirement era. And I didn't know that Steve Doocy back in the day was the Fox. Ever since Fox has been on, I have been doing morning radio pretty much since the infancy of the Fox News Channel. So watching Fox and Friends was not something I did because I was actually yapping the entire time. And so I didn't know Steve Doocy's history. I kind of remembered they showed some back drops of him doing weather forecasting and stuff. And now, of course, his son, Peter Doocy, covers the White House for Fox. So he's had a long, storied career at Fox. And so I'm just kind of laughing. And I was thinking of other journalists that have had their last episodes of 60 Minutes or hosting the evening news. And yeah, there's some that get shown the door persona non grata, but a lot of times they make their farewell statement. I'm retiring, and after many years of service, I'm glad to be here. I'm Walter Cronkite, and they move on, right? I've never known a radio person that's ever been given warning about a final show. This is your final show. You go make the best of it and thank your audience. You know, that's a sad thing, and that's the uncaring tyrants that run media sometimes. It's because one of the first things that when I got canned back in November, people were months going, I thought you were in Africa the whole time. I was like, man, this is a long trip for him, but he's been here 10 years. But you never get to say bye to people. You never get to thank all the I called all my advertisers because my advertisers are my friend, and they were more loyal to me than they are to the oligarchs of radio. I can say oligarchs. It makes Bernie happy. Oligarchs. They are more loyal to me than the oligarchs over there. So it's just amazing. Just comparing the Peter Doocy entering into a new phase into how people in radio get treated. And let me tell you, it's a totally different thing. And I can think of all the television journalists. Johnny Carson got to have his last night ride off into the sunset. People just don't get to ride off into the sunset on radio. I've just never known that to happen. They get shown the door, and usually there's not a final show. It's just get your ass out of here. And we have decided that we're going to put something up besides you. Anyway, hope that's working out well for him. I hear that station is, Arloa says, happy Friday indeed. Spending the weekend with family. Well, happy Friday to you. You got it. A link to the YouTube for Mises. Okay, I'll put that up. I'll put that up on Rumble somewhere. I will. Cody says, hello, good morning, brother Jimmy and brother Chad. I'm reading the chat room stuff that's popping up here. Obnoxious Scott wants us to link the YouTube channel for the Mises Institute. Or I will. He linked it up. Oh, there it is. So if you're on Rumble, Obnoxious Scott has put up the Rumble feed. On our Rumble feed, you can see the comments of the link to the Mises Institute. So there it is. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate you being a helpful servant today. We really, really do. And I don't know why it went on the radio versus television thing, but I just was thinking of that. Steve Doocy, he got to talk, and they reminisced about it, and gave a thank you and how much we're going to be sad to not have you in the studio. I got shown the door. I saw the big boss walk down the hall. So, well, I know what's about to happen here. Close my microphone. Walked down, and they said, can we see you for a minute? I said, well, let's just get it over with. I know what's happening here. I've been in business a long time. And then I walked right out the door. Spooked my mouth. Never to be seen again. Anyway, it's just interesting. Television versus radio. And that's why television probably is still a big industry, and radio is dying on the vine in many instances. And that's why they have to keep cutting, because they ain't making no money out there. And of course, they don't make no money because people understand the syndication thing. So anyway, I digress. I just wanted to throw that out there. That I was just thinking of Steve Doocy. All right, a couple of stories here I want to get to. Then we're going to wrap it up for the Friday and take the weekend. You may hear that these FBI kneelers have now been reassigned. Those people that were kneeling in the George Floyd riots have been reassigned. I find that to be quite interesting. There's an interesting story behind that. Some people say, well, why weren't they fired? Well, reassignment, and I'm not sure exactly. I've been told that if you get reassigned by the FBI and you had that cush job in Washington, D.C., they're going to go, Margaret, hey, you DEI hire, we're going to reassign you. You're going to work in South Dakota now. Yeah, we're reassigning you to the field office in Idaho. And it's virtually, well, I don't want to do that job. And it's a great way to weed them out. But all those people that were kneeling at the FBI agents in their vests, kneeling in the George Floyd riots, Kash Patel has said, yeah, you need to have a little reassignment. And you're not worthy of the office you hold. I say good for them. Anybody see this story? It's gotten very little attention this week, but it's been on my show sheet. I haven't gotten it yet. And I'm surprised the left hasn't gone crazy about it. The Washington Post says the Postal Service, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, which is the investigative arm of the U.S. Postal Service. You know, the Postal Service has its own like police force, which is the U.S. Postal Inspection Service. They have actually been assisting the Trump administration with locating illegal migrants living in the U.S. The Washington Post reported that this week. The inspection service recently joined the Department of Homeland Security task force. According to the report, the service is helping federal authorities locate illegals using data from mail and packages. A senior Homeland Security official confirmed the inspection services role from the Postal Service, telling the Washington Post in a statement that they are a key part of ensuring law enforcement has the resources that they need to fulfill President Trump's promise to the American people to remove violent criminals from our streets, dismantle drug and human trafficking operations, and make America safe again. Of interest to federal immigration agents are photographs of envelopes and packages that are known as the mail covers, Postal Service surveillance systems, and mail tracking information, as well as credit card data and other financial information, according to the report. And they get a lot of this from the Postal Service, and the Postal Service, good for the Postal Service. You know, at this point, we always complain the Postal Service always loses money. I'm glad they're losing money. They're helping get rid of the illegals. Thank you, Postal Service. Thank a postal officer today, especially at the part of the Postal Inspection Service. You know how big the Postal Inspection Service is? The police force of the post office, right? 1,700 strong, according to the report here. It maintains the safety of the mail system. It features 1,250 inspectors and 450 police officers who provide security, according to the Washington Post. But nevertheless, these postal inspectors are helping identify those illegals. So, hey, Mr. Illegal Alien or Mrs. Illegal Alien, you're a criminal. And if you stick that letter in the mail or ship that package and use that credit card or that government, whatever card, listen, they're going to get you. What you going to do when the postman comes for you? Bad boy, what you going to do? Bad boy, what you going to do? I feel like I should have sang that, and that would have made that much more effective. I think I should have. All right. I'm about to cough my head off is what I'm about to do. I'm trying not to cough. And so I decided not to sing. The papal conclave begins soon. And here's something you never think about behind the scenes. At every papal conclave, they order cassocks. Cassocks is, I think, is how you say that. And they are the white robes that the Pope gets to wear, right? And so every day when the white smoke finally comes out of the tower, and they say, we have a pope, and then some guy comes out in a long white robe, and he waves, and that's the new pope. And now he used to be known as Frank, and now he's known as Benedict, or so he changes his name and picks some kind of a papal name. That's the papal conclave, right? We've seen the photo. It's happened a few times in our lifetimes for most of us, and so we kind of know the whole story of the papal conclave. Well, they have these cassocks that get ordered. They order the small, medium, extra large, because they know whoever's going to get elected in that papal conclave might be real skinny, may have be rotund. They just don't know, so they order them in all shapes and sizes. Well, the story is now circulating because they have to have a story about something that no one has ordered the cassocks for a papal conclave. There's been no order. The two most famous makers of these things and that custom make these things for the Vatican have said they have not received an order for papal conclave cassocks, meaning there's not, maybe are they not planning on electing a pope? Maybe that's the case in the conspiracy world. That he was Francis was the last pope, right? Well, no, that's not true. They speculate that the reason they haven't ordered the cassocks is because they still have leftovers from previous conclaves. You had the Francis conclave, you had the Benedict conclave. We've had a couple of conclaves, and if they have leftover sizes, in other words, they only need one of each size for the guy that's going to walk out there and get it, and they think maybe they're doging the Vatican and not going to spend the money on a fresh order of cassocks. We still have those on mothballs from 5 or 10, 12 years ago. So anyway, don't panic. If you hear the story, they try to make you panic that the cassocks have not been ordered for the papal conclave. Don't worry and do not fear. I think they already have enough sizes, and if nothing else, they'll get a bed sheet and slap it over the guy and call him holy. That's all they got to do. It's a brilliant act. They're saving money, though, saving the money there. Linda says coffee is all over. Coffee. What did I say that made coffee go over? I said something that made Linda spooge her coffee, is spit it out all over the place. Murray says, yeah, people ask me where you're at, so I tell them about your podcast. Yeah, see, that's the thing in radio. They don't tell anybody. I mean, and the dumbasses that run that operation over there, I was driving a couple of days ago, and I flipped on, and it says, hey, this is Jimmy Lakey, tune in 6 o'clock. That's the stupidity of how uncommitted they are to quality in broadcasting, is they put these syndicated jackasses that don't really have much talent, honestly, pay them a lot of money, but they only have to pay them once at all the stations. And then they're still promoting that they're airing a morning show. They're not. It's a dumbassery. Linda's laughing about the Bad Boy song. Oh, the Bad Boy Postal Service song. Yeah, bad boy, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when the postman comes for you? Bad boy. Yeah, that's it. Some of you illegals out there are probably gonna be afraid to check your mail. You should be, because there's probably an agent hiding behind the bush there ready to get you. So all you illegals, stop checking your mail. Stop checking your mail, because you're bad boys and you're gonna come get you. No, I just saw a flash on my screen here. Are you bitter? No, I'm not bitter. I think it's the best thing that ever happened to getting out of the local radio. I'm just amazed that I'm just giving observation about Steve Ducey. That's all I'm doing. And Murray says people still want to know where I'm at. And that's why people think I'm still on the radio, because they're still running promos, because no one gives a rat's ass about the signal. Listen, I had friends that were at one of the country stations, and they've been gone 3 years. And I was listening to a country station just about 4 weeks ago. And on the weekend, they're still running programs. And the syndicated hosts that pretend to be local, that read scripts about stuff, they were saying, hey, make sure you tune in bright and early in the morning for the Scott and Sadie show. They hadn't been around in 3 years, but nobody knows that the people that pretend to be local are not local. Even your traffic reporter on radio is probably, if you're listening in, let's say Denver, they may be in Arizona. If you're listening in Ohio, they may be in Denver. I mean, it's a spoken wheel operation. They send out sources. I'm just giving behind the scenes. No, it's fine. I don't care. But I feel bad for the people like Murray are asking, where'd Jimmy Lakey go? Well, did he go to witness protection, or what happened? Well, I just feel bad for those folks, because they were very loyal over the years. Okay. Yeah, I see Linda's comment. They're ruining radio. It happens a lot of times. So that's fine. All right. What else do I want to get to? We got to do meme roulette, and then we're going to have a great. Oh, producer Chad's going to do something this weekend. I would tell what producer Chad is going to do. Do you have respect for this? I just want to see if anybody has. What do you think of this? If you had the chance to do the adventure trip that producer Chad is about to do, would you do it? Producer Chad is taking his wife. I think it's a luxury getaway. I don't know. But what are they going to do is on this little staycation they're going to do over the weekend? They're going to, anybody know what a Rocky Mountain oyster is? It's when you take the little calves and you cut, we talk about the twig and berries. You cut the berries off the little calves that have berries that are real, actual males, going to be bulls. And we stop them from becoming bulls and make them steers because you castrate them. And for years in the rural farming community, and I have partaken before, I have to say, there's something called a Rocky Mountain oyster. You fry those little orbs up with some batter, and you fry them up, and they look like oysters, but they're Rocky Mountain oysters. That's where they get the name. It's cow testicles, cow balls. Well, producer Chad, in a romantic getaway weekend with his beautiful wife, I think they're going out to the eastern plains of Colorado to a cattle ranch, and he is going to partake in he's partaking in the castrations. He is going to help chop the balls off the animals, and he's hoping to bring a basket of the orbs back and he's going to have his own what they call a calf ride. My cousins grew up in Oklahoma, and so I went to a calf ride in rural Oklahoma as a kid. First time I ever had the Rocky Mountain oysters, and I ate them, and they were good as long as you didn't think about it. And you put Tabasco on them. Tabasco ketchup, that's better. I like Tabasco on them. Now you can dip them in ranch. Ranch wasn't a big deal there. Do you know there's a place my son had a track meet one time? If you're in Colorado, I think it's Severance, Colorado, and I think it's called Bruce's Rocky Mountain Oysters. That's their whole specialty. You go in there and you order balls. It's a whole ball menu. And my son had a track meet, and I was hungry, and there was not much to eat around there. And I had like an hour before the next event. And I said, I heard that there's this place, and I went and I sat there by myself, and I ate there, and it was good. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. Anyway, producer Chad's going to do that. If you have the chance, if some farmer or rancher asks you if you wanted to go help him run the castration station, if somebody asks you if you wanted to help, would you go help? Is this how you would spend a weekend chopping the testicles off of a bull or a future bull? Is that how you would spend it? Or would you say, you know what, thanks for the invitation, but I'm going to help my friend move. I'm going to load my pickup out that weekend, and I'm going to help him move the couch from the third floor apartment. That's how I just can't come out and chop the bull balls off because I'm going to help people move. I'm just curious, would you do it? If you had the chance, would you don your cowboy hat and your cowboy boots, and would you go on a field trip out to chop off the bull balls? We're going to find out. We'll give you a report on Monday as to how the bull ball chopping went, and we'll give you a report. Todd says, yeah, heck yes. That sounds like a lot of fun. We need to check the audience credentials before they get it. Would you do that? Heck yeah, I do it. Okay, so Todd says, yeah, he said he'd go chop the balls off a bull any day. There's so many questions I have about this. Are there other animals that we eat those body parts, or just the cow? I don't know. I'm going to have to do some AI research on this. Scott says, as an Iowa farm kid, I can tell you that turkey fries are popular as well. See, there's an answer to the question. Is the bull or the calf or the steer, is it the cow the only thing that we eat that part of? And evidently in Iowa, they have hog fries too. Oh, good Lord. How do I not know this? And I'm glad I don't. I'm glad I didn't know this. Ladies and gentlemen, let's do meme roulette so we can stop talking with the testicle talk. If we're not careful, they're going to have to rename this podcast Testicle Talk with Jimmy Lakey. I don't like that name at all. So let's not do that. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, hang on. Jimmy, my dad was a cattleman. I know what you're talking about. Arloa, I never mind. I'm not going to make that joke. I was going to say something about a ball woman. You're like a boob guy. I'm not going to say it. Arlo is too precious. All right, here's the meme roulette. Around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Today's generation has no clue that there are two people in this photo. It's a photo of Willie Jeff Clinton sitting behind the Resolute desk. Yeah, there's two people in that photo. Look, everybody see it? Do you see the second person? No, you don't see them, but they're there. They're there. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I'm trying not to cough so desperately. I love this one. This was one I sent over to producer Chad. It's a photo of an image of Joe Biden, Shadur Sanders, that Maryland dad that we're supposed to love so much, and Katy Perry. And on the caption for Joe Biden says, sharp as a tack. That's what they said. And on the Katy Perry meme, they say, oh, she's an astronaut. Remember, she went to space for 11 seconds. And that illegal gangbanger there with the Chicago Bulls hat, oh, he's just a Maryland dad, just an innocent Maryland dad. Forget the fact that he beat the crap out of his wife on police reports. Forget that. He's a Maryland daddy. Just let him come back and go to the play place at McDonald's with his children so he can ride the teeter-totter with them and change their pampers anytime when they have poopies. He's just a Maryland daddy. No, he's a gangbanger. He's back home in El Salvador. Get the hell out of my country. Oh, and up in the upper right-hand corner, it's Shadur Sanders. And his caption is first round talent. I should not laugh. That's awful. It's funny, though. It's funny. That's funny as hell. All right. I explained that one way too much. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from. No, I spin this one. No one knows. Gordo's Cuban Cuisine. I don't know where that's at. There. And the sign of the Gordo's Cuban Cuisine on the outdoor sign, we trimmed our bush, so now our deck looks bigger. Not if it got it chopped off. Round around the globe we go. Where you steal the memes from, no one knows. But watch out for producer Chad. He'll make things look smaller down there. It's a written meme, so I can just read it. I bought a new deodorant yesterday. The instruction says remove cap and push up bottom. It hurt like hell, but my farts smell great. That's a Friday meme if I've never seen one. Remove the cap and push up bottom. All right. Let's see. I don't have any. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Democrats are now showing new solidarity. This is from Babylon B with MS-13 by getting face tattoos. There's Botox Nancy and a demented old dumbass Chuck there with the MS-13 on their forehead. Yeah, that looks like the modern Democrat Party. There's your leadership right there. That's your leadership. Let's see, we got more. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. We milk the meme machine dry. Am I ever going to get over this cold? Because I'm stuttering and stammering and trying to hold back coughs, etc. So pray that I get over this cold over the weekend. I would really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. Oh, Shan says there's sheep fries also. So basically, farm animals, if they have testicles, it's not unusual to eat them. I thought we only ate the balls. I thought that was all we did. Yeah, Shan says sheep fries. I didn't know. Now, there's a couple of places in Colorado. One's called the Buckhorn Exchange. They're famous for selling Rocky Mountain oysters. I mentioned Bruce's and Severance is a very casual dining place. So there's several you can buy them. I know in Colorado they're Rocky Mountain oysters, so you can buy them. But I didn't know he had sold sheep fries or hog fries or pig fries. I didn't know. I did not know. Calf fries. That's what they're called. We call them Rocky Mountain oysters. The other phrase is calf fries. That's what they're calf fries. It's fried up. That's what producer Chad's doing for the weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go. We have descended into ball talk, and because of that, we must depart now and think about other things. Producer Chad, enjoy the chopping. You heard the phrase. There's a whole lot of shaking going on. With producer Chad, there's going to be a whole lot of snipping going on this weekend. We'll give you a full report. Maybe even see if we can get some video. We'll keep it clean and we'll blur out the parts of the cow you're not supposed to see. We don't want this to be cow porn or anything. We just wanted to get a report on what producer Chad's doing out there, giving a little snippety snip. Hey, all you illegals, don't forget, bad boys, what you're going to do when the postal police come for you. Just deport yourself now and get the hell out of the country. I'm Jimmy Lakey. Go register for our casino night, riverspromise.org. Throw a couple of donations our way as well, riverspromise.org. I am Jimmy Lakey. I hope I get over this cold. It'll feel so much better. God bless you. God bless America. It's really just allergies, I promise. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.